My name is John Uralian, name up there. I put it first because I was the last one to edit the slide, so there's no reason it's up there first. We have today with me Rob Frohnapfel. Did I say that? Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. And I would like to let him start. The reason we've invited him is Rob has done some amazing work. If you take vRops as it is and start using it, it's nice. Rob's team started using it a little way back, and at the time, the feature set that we had, given their licensing, was very limited. So what he set out to do is create his own vRops. I want him to show you what he's done, or at least some of what he's done, and then I'll come back and make my point. Rob, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob Frohnapfel. I represent the Cloud Product Engineering team at Comcast. Our organization's entire mission in life is to help our product and development teams forget about managing infrastructure so that they can focus on what they do best, which is writing code and delivering products and services to market faster. So a few quick bits on Comcast for those of you who may not know. We are the US's largest cable TV and internet service provider. We have a booming home security and automation business. We recently released cellular phone service in the United States. And we also own a little company you may have heard of called NBC Universal. Our customers, our team's customers, are Comcast internal product and development teams. But our platforms run the Comcast products that many of you use and hopefully love within your own homes. So things like the X1 platform and Xfinity Home Security. Today I'm here to talk to you about how our team was able to take vRops metrics, combine them with business partnerships, and deliver incredible results. Results in the form of happy customers, and results in the form of saving tens of millions of dollars. So first, I'd like to give you some background on our VMware-based private cloud. We call that the Steel Cloud. We call it Steel to identify with reliability and durability. We also have an elastic cloud at Comcast, an OpenStack-based private cloud. I'll talk a little more about that here in a minute. So I joined the team back in 2013, and at that time we had about 7,000 VMware virtual machines. By mid-year 2017, we have over 47,000 within the Steel Cloud environment. Late last year, we were also combined with another group at Comcast with a sizable VMware infrastructure, and that added about 30,000 VMs to our portfolio. So today we're at about 80,000 virtual machines. We do expect our growth rates to continue, although not quite as dramatically because of some of the automation I'll share with you here today. We also run Pivotal Cloud Foundry on top of our Steel Cloud infrastructure. Cloud Foundry at Comcast has seen an exponential adoption with a growth rate of about 490% in 2016. Our customers at Comcast consume our services through our cloud portal. So we developed our portal in-house, and very much in the spirit of an Amazon AWS or a Microsoft Azure, you can go to our portal, not only learn about our services, but educate yourself on design patterns that will help you to make the right decisions on what cloud platform to run your workloads. You can also click a few buttons in our portal to get a virtual machine in a self-service fashion, or you can type a few commands and push your application to the cloud. So if you wanted a VM in our environment, you would go to our portal, you would click the Servers tab, and you'd be presented with a decision tree, much like you see here. As I mentioned, we work hard to educate our customers, so the point of this is, if you need a VM, we want you to put it in the right place. So if your application has disposable processes or is stateless, then OpenStack is probably the right place for you. If you're running a commercial product or an application that requires infrastructure resiliency or perhaps sensitive data storage, the Steel Cloud is probably the place for you. So that's the background I wanted to give you first related to our size, our growth rates, and how customers consume our services. But we're here today to talk about vRealize Operations Manager. So let's jump right into that. We stood up VRops back in 2014, and I want to be very honest with you up front that we did have challenges in the beginning. So we downloaded the bits ourselves, read the documentation, created the architecture, deployed it, and as it started cranking and doing all the analytics that it performs, it was not performing well for us. So many times I'd go to the user interface and it wouldn't work, or we would have crashes within the system. Just about every time in the beginning that I went to show my boss stuff in VRops, it wouldn't work. So we engaged our TAM organization. They quickly got us on the phone with the right folks from VMware. They helped us with some architecture and configuration changes. And after that, everything started working great. And it's been working great ever since. So Comcast has two very distinct use cases for VRops. We have the traditional use case, where folks from our operations team log into the user interface of the product to do their day-to-day job. They may be troubleshooting, doing reporting, things like that. The second use case, and a lot of the focus that my team was centered on, was using the VRops API to extend the platform and to create our own custom services and features within the platform. So everything from aggregated metrics dashboards to fully automated cross-cluster performance balancing, snapshot management, tenant reporting, and waste control. These are all the things I'm going to talk about with you here today. So let's dig right into that. So taking that VRops API, we have been able to create telemetry across many different platforms and bring it all together into one place. Taking some open source tools like InfluxDB or Grafana, marrying them together with the multiple APIs that the different vendors expose to us, and then gluing all that together with some custom code, led us to create what we call the Steel Cloud Metrics Center. So within this dashboard interface, not only can we manage all of our platforms and quickly at lots of different levels, either deep dive or at a very high level, see what performance and capacity management looks like. But even better than that, we expose this to all of our customers. So anyone at Comcast can go log into this interface and they can see how our environment's performing. They can see compute, storage, IaaS, PaaS, network. So this is really powerful for us, and this really kind of changed the way. I like to tell people it changed my life because I'll tell you, performance and capacity management at scale, which I'm sure many of you know, is really difficult. You've got tens of thousands of systems, maybe more. You've got hundreds of user interfaces. If we needed to do things like budget forecasting, we would have people logging into all of these systems, collecting all that data, creating spreadsheets, creating charts and graphs, and that was really good for like that distinct moment in time. And then we would rinse and repeat that process over and over again. So anytime we needed to make a purchase, anytime we needed to forecast, long-range planning, all of those things, by combining it all together in here, it literally takes minutes. And a lot of that time, I do it myself, or my boss can even do it. So that was really powerful for us, kind of bringing everything together in one place. I'll get into a deeper example with you now about an incident that occurred in our environment last year. So what you're looking at is a screenshot from our dashboard interface, and this is aggregating the vRealize Ops Manager workload metrics. And it's demonstrating that to you by region. So here on the screen, you see two different regions within our infrastructure. What you'll note here is each one of those colored lines represents a cluster. Each cluster could have anywhere from 24 to 32 nodes. So there's really a ton of infrastructure depicted to you here. If you take a closer look, see how I do the laser pointer. If you take a closer look, you can see that there are spikes where there are clusters with CPU workload that are hitting 100% workload and staying like that for sustained periods of time. You can also see the lines at the bottom of each of these graphs depict clusters that are basically sitting there idle. And the reason for that is our self-service for VMware is not balancing across that capacity. So you'll end up with some clusters that are completely full and that are cranking, and you'll end up with other clusters that are basically sitting there idle. So when we first came to this realization, we had our operations team spend a lot of manual time balancing across clusters. At that point, we realized that we needed to make a very conscious effort to write some automation that would do that for us. So that's what we did. We created that automation, and what that resulted in, one thing I failed to mention, we jokingly refer to this situation as the Great Train Wreck of 2016, mostly because if you look at that chart, it kind of looks like a train wreck. After we went through the effort with our manual efforts as well as our automation, those same regions began to look more like this. So let me just jump back and forth quickly to demonstrate the difference to you here. And at this point, not only did our customers start to thank us and tell us, you guys really fixed the problems out there, we started feeling the impact of this because we were getting time back in our lives, not getting wrapped up in every problem that, that popped up during every day of the week. So here's how we felt. That was the harmony and the balance in the environment. So there's the first example that I'd like to share with you, and I will touch a bit more on that automated cross-cluster performance balancing here in a second. Let me talk to you about tenant reporting. So any of you that manage a enterprise scale multi-tenant private cloud know it's very, very difficult to know who your customers are and to know what they're using. By taking that vRops data and marrying it together with our CMDB, we were now able to see VM consumption and waste at an application level. So this was huge to us, and I'll describe why that is here. At the top left-hand side, you see the word Maestro. Maestro represents an application suite within Comcast that is essentially our customer care tools. So when you call Comcast with a problem, the rep that's talking to you is using that suite of applications to help you with your billing and your troubleshooting and all that stuff. So here on the screen, you can see that the Maestro application has a few thousand VMs. You can see the storage, CPU, and memory usage. But if you look down at the bottom, you can also see the waste associated with this stuff. So oversized VMs, consuming extra resources. We took that one step further and we married that up with our TCO model. So now we could not only see what Maestro or any other app was using, but we could see how much it was costing the company on a monthly basis. And then we could generate some other costing information, such as what you see in the red box there, which is the monthly savings that Comcast could recognize if we were to reclaim those resources and right-size those virtual machines. So that was hugely powerful for us, and the thing that I love most about this, not only do we know what our customers are using, but our friends in the finance department know what our customers are using. So if we go to finance and say we need a few $1,000,000 for capacity, they could go in here and see that it's not Rob's movie collection running on all this stuff out here, it's actually Comcast products and services. So that greatly accelerated our ability to procure new capacity. So that's tenant reporting. Before I leave this screen, I'm going to move on to the next concept, which is waste control. So we've looked at examples here of all the oversized VM waste that's out there. When we began to recognize that, our operations team began to manually work with our customers to try to take back abandoned VMs, to try to resize oversized virtual machines. They were hugely successful in that. So I think, and I have some stats here in a minute, but thousands of VMs they were able to decommission and reclaim just through that manual process. Well, that was taking a ton of time and effort, so we decided to automate that as well. So using the vRops metrics, we created a product that we refer to as Janitor Monkey. So what you see on the screen is the workflow that Janitor Monkey follows. In summary, Janitor Monkey takes the vRops data, and the data that marries it up to the customers and the applications, and it begins to hound the customers to give stuff back. So we kind of take a 3 strikes you're out approach. First, we'll send you a couple emails. Not only will we describe to you the condition, so here's your oversized VMs, we'll give you some information as to why that's a bad thing, but we also give you a link back to our cloud portal, where you can now see the VMs you have, you can see the recommendations we're making about how they should be sized, And you can actually take accountability for your own waste. So you can click those buttons, you can reduce the resource usage, you can decommission a virtual machine here, you can rebuild a virtual machine here, and you can transfer ownership of a VM here. So this was huge for us, and I'll show you why here in a second. In the spirit of the dashboards I mentioned, we are also tracking all of this right sizing and decommissions, you know, in an automated fashion. And here's the stats, here's the results. So without going through all the numbers here, let's just talk about the totals. We have reclaimed to date since the beginning of 2016 over 13,000 virtual machines, over 48,000 vCPUs, 244 terabytes of memory, and over 4 petabytes of enterprise storage. And when I say enterprise storage, we are moving into the software-defined model, but a lot of what we have supporting this stuff today is traditional SAN-based storage arrays. So anyone that deals with storage, purchasing, that sort of thing, you can see by these numbers in this reclamation, this has literally allowed us to avoid spending tens of millions of dollars. So that was huge. I'm going to move in, so these are the examples I wanted to share with you today. I will summarize the results of all this at the end. Before we do that, I would like to talk to you about how we have accomplished this stuff. Because when we talk to people about this, the first question is, how are you guys doing that? You know, we have a team of traditional IT sysadmins, and we're always in reactive mode. The answer to that is the DevOps mindset. So several years back, as many of you probably did as well, we were recognizing the industry is moving to software. Hardware is becoming a commodity, and software allows you to do a lot of the things that we described to you here today. So we began working with our teams to inspire them to do things like learn a scripting language, to deliver automation mechanisms, to use tools like Ansible and Puppet and things like that. And over the years, slowly, we're at a point now where folks that started with a little shell scripting are writing Python or Golang. So the DevOps mindset is hugely important, hugely important. What's equally important is partnerships. So partnering with the business and your customers. So I'll give you some examples of how we do that. We use Slack as an online real-time collaboration tool. So basically, removing transactional ticket-based requests from your customers, giving your customers access to you almost immediately so that they can ask questions or engage you with problems, that sort of thing. This has been wildly successful for us. There's actually been a grassroots community that has built itself out of the use of this online real-time collaboration. And I give you some numbers here. They're actually out of date at this point. We have over 1,000 customers on our Steel Cloud Slack channel. Same deal with Cloud Foundry. And what's really cool is any time of day, if you log into Slack and you look at these channels, you see customers asking questions, and it's not our teams answering the questions, it's other customers. So that's huge. Transparency. I talked to you about sharing information. I talked to you about exposing our metrics to our customers. Open forums. There are times where we will host an open forum with our largest customers and we may have 100 people on the phone. We will come prepared to that forum with an agenda, but the first thing we do when we get on that call is not start presenting our agenda, it's asking our customers, how are things going? What's working? What's not working? What's on your mind? That sort of thing. So we host those sometimes recurring every 2 weeks. Build a relationship with your VMware TAM. I told you the story about us trying to do it ourselves, standing up vRops, and it not working well for us. If you keep your TAM in the loop and you let them know the things you're working on, what your roadmap is, what your problems are, they will help you to make things work better from the beginning. And then finally, a statement that I really like is run it like a business. So if you started your own business, you would be out there soliciting feedback from your customers to understand what their pains are, what their needs are, and you would be building that into their product. Too often, IT organizations sit in a silo without talking to their customers. and they require their customers to submit a ticket if they need something. That is not the path to success. So we didn't want to just come here today and talk to you about this stuff. We wanted to actually provide you with some enablement and some tooling that would let you do the kind of things that we have shared with you here today. So I'm very pleased to announce that we have open sourced 2 of the automation mechanisms I've described to you here today. So out there on the internet on github.com/Comcast, you will find our automated cross-cluster performance balancing, as well as automated snapshot management. And the folks in the room that wrote this, or the folks are in the room that wrote this stuff, so if you would like to speak with them and get more information, please do hit us up after we're done the session here. So let's summarize our results. Aggregated metrics dashboards for all platforms, everything in one place. Customers have 100% visibility. Performance and capacity management is greatly simplified. And doing this ourselves saved us a ton of cash. Fully automated cross-cluster balancing, consistent reliable performance across regions. Makes our customers happy. Saved us a ton of cash. Fully automated snapshot management. I know I didn't get into a lot of details on this one here, but this also, a result, it reduced storage usage, reduces VM problems, also saved us a ton of cash. In addition, these 2 items here returned about 39 labor hours per week to our operations team. So this automation has given back the equivalent of a full-time employee to the operations team, so they could now focus on being proactive, creating more automation. Tenant reporting and showback makes finance really happy, accelerates the procurement of new capacity, really helped us with our forecasting and our budgeting process, saved us a ton of cash. And then waste control, janitor monkey. Customers are held accountable for their own waste. We don't have to do that stuff for them anymore. As a bonus, the entire environment now runs better because the bloat is gone. And then finally, as I've demonstrated to you here today, we've avoided spending tens of millions of dollars on new capacity through the waste reclamation process. Just a few more items. The DevOps mindset, nurturing that mindset. Traditional IT sysadmins can relate to software developers and start to automate everything. Automation gives our team back time where we can focus on being more proactive. The automation drives down our total cost of ownership, and these concepts keep talented engineers happy, engaged, and more productive. Customers in community, customers helping customers. Educated customers make better decisions. Trusted partnerships enable new business opportunities. So here's an example of that. One of our largest customers comes to us once, maybe twice a year, and says, we would like to donate millions of dollars to you so that you can continue to extend and make your cloud platforms more efficient. So that was just about everything I wanted to share with you here today. I did have one other item for you. Everything we've shared here, this is our playbook at Comcast for successfully managing cloud platforms at scale. So we applied this to VMware examples here today. If you're interested to hear how we've achieved the same results in the Cloud Foundry space, please go out to YouTube and search for Comcast Cloud Foundry, and you'll find videos of presentations much like this. We also invite you to join us at the Spring One Platform Conference that Pivotal hosts in December in San Francisco, where we'll be talking about the same type of results. And with any luck, next year you can catch us at DockerCon or KubeCon as we are developing and deploying a container orchestration as a service offering for Comcast. That was everything I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much. I'm going to welcome John back to the stage, who's going to talk about customer focus. Thank you.
Come on. Thanks. When I first saw this slide deck, I was like, oh my God, wow. It's a lot of work. Because I tried doing that actually way before I'd seen this, like 4 or 5 years ago. I looked at vRops. I'd recently joined VMware. I was trying to do things with it. The UI was sluggish. It wouldn't work. They would crash. There were lots of problems. There were lots of things that didn't make sense. It was there, but who knew what it was for? So I said, yeah, we have to, there's APIs. They keep saying you can do it. Let me do it. So I started doing the mockups and all that. And yeah, I'll need this here, I need that. And then I suddenly realized, oh my God, the amount of work that's going to go into that is tremendous. So that project got shelved. Whenever I'm old and retired, maybe I'll do it as a hobby, but it's not something I can do. And my guess is that many of you don't have the time or resources to do what they did. So how to get there without investing so much time and effort? Well, I'm a product manager, so we as PMs recently, over the past year, started looking at what do we need to do to make this product really work for the user. Because we were hearing things, we were seeing things actually, because we knew what Rob had done, and he's not the only one. There's other people who have done different types of integrations, experiments, their own stuff. And we looked at some of those and we were thinking, why would they do it? What's wrong with our product? And we realized that in the past, many of the features that came to be, many of the things that happened were not really based on what the customer was saying. It came out of, I don't know, nowhere, or somebody's idea, or it was dictated by someone. So there was this paradigm shift over the past year. We started something called the DPP, which is the Design Partner Program, where we sit down with customers, show them what we want to achieve, and work through the design with them. We have these roundtables. We have the Customer Technical Advisory Board. We try to gather as much information as possible and do our roadmap planning based on what customers say. And I can prove this. All of the things Rob said, of course, it's not everything. They've done more. And I'm going to talk about a subset of those. And you will see that this subset was implemented during the past year. And the reason that we have it now is because we talked to Rob, we talked to other people who, like Rob, had the same problems. And we came to realize that that's what the market needed. That's what the user wanted. That's what helps users get their job done. So, before I go on, this is the disclaimer slide. Although I will not most probably be making any forward-looking statements, I still have to show this. Please be aware. Thank you. Okay. So, just a subset of the things that Rob said. He said he consolidated his tools. He said he automated workload placement. He showed us that they are defining and maintaining optimal cluster utilization levels, and they have insights into reclaimable capacity, the waste management, etc. These are things that in vRops kind of existed, but they didn't really do much. So what did we do new in vRops? We created a new set of dashboards, and I will show them to you in a while, for those of you who haven't seen them. We automated workload balancing across clusters, just like Rob's team did. And we have other integrations with other products to make sure that the consolidation between tools, and this is an ongoing effort, is greater, and you would need to switch UIs less, and you would stay in one place to do the work. Now, before I go on, show of hands, who here actually uses vRops? Wow, that's amazing. And how many of you are on the latest version, 6.6 or 6.6.1? Oh yeah, everybody else, please upgrade. Yeah, because it's very important actually to upgrade. Please do. The upgrade is very smooth. For those of you who in the past have had a bad experience with the upgrade, please just do it now. It's very, very straightforward. Okay, battle-tested dashboards. What do we mean by that? For those who haven't seen this, this is in 6.6. There's like, I think 30 dashboards, 20-something dashboards that have been added. These are not what we had in the past. They're very well thought out. There's a lot of customer involvement here. We have field folk who've worked on these. We've had reviews and reviews and reviews. And the idea was that as a user, I shouldn't need to do anything. I should come and get answers, depending on my role. If I'm a capacity guy, I have capacity and utilization. If I'm a firefighter and I need to troubleshoot, then there should be a tool for me to do that, et cetera, et cetera. We've done it into categories, so it's easier to locate what you need to do. And essentially what it does is guide you through the process or give you enough information so that you don't need to do anything else. You're there. You either take corrective action or at least identify the problem, call somebody, fire somebody, write a letter, talk to finance, whatever it is you need to do. But the idea is that rather than jump around screens, let's do it in one place. So here's an example of one of those dashboards. We are trying to visualize what our utilization levels are. And we have a number of different kinds of dashboards here. Actually, I'm showing 3 or 4 of them here, but there's more. So as you can see, I can see the cluster utilization and host utilization. And each of these shows the entire environment. So by selecting any one of those items, I will be able to drill down and understand where my problem is. It's right here. For example, in the example above, I have a heat map on the left. I can see that some of my hosts in terms of utilization are red. And if I click on those, the charts on the right will tell me what the problems are, or at least which resource I need to look at. The same thing applies here to the cluster utilization. I can see that from my clusters in terms of, I can't see it from here. Let me take a look at it here. And I don't have my glasses, so I don't see it here either. I'm sorry. I don't see the resource, but the top 2 have an issue. It's pretty obvious. We've tried to make it so that you just look at the image and you can identify that you have a problem or not. It's about getting to a solution much faster than you used to. And we have, of course, the heavy hitter VMs, because those are more often than not a problem. And we have the capacity overview and the reclaimable capacity. Again, we have an overview that shows you the entire environment, how many VMs you have, what your status is, etc. And then we have created this dashboard that will show you how much you can reclaim from one single place. Now, this used to be something that you had to be done manually, or you had to go into every single object to figure it out per host or per cluster, etc. Now it's all in one place. So I'm not here to advertise the dashboards themselves, but that the shift in thinking that has occurred within the PM team as to what we need to deliver to customers in terms of what is it we want them to do. The old school of thought was we need a product that's so powerful, so generic, so customizable that you can do anything with it. That core really hasn't changed, but the idea that every user wants that was kind of ridiculous, because that's like having a machine with 100 knobs and you have to fine-tune it every time you want to do something. So the idea was that, yes, let's have the back end, but let's think of how do we make it easier for people to use the product. And that has been the great strides that we have had since 6.4, 6.5. Those of you who've been upgrading all the time, you will have noticed that we changed the UI, we changed the workflows to make life simpler. And to continue what Rob's team did, the same way we did it too. It's too much work? Okay, we identified the problems. I know that my cluster is not balanced. His train wreck example. What do I do? And again, we thought about it. We spoke to Rob and we spoke to other people. They dedicated somebody to go and manually fix that issue. And we said, no, we have, we have DRS, of course, vSphere has DRS, but that's within the cluster, and I want to balance out the cluster itself. So how can I move objects around across clusters? And we came up with the workload balancing, which essentially does that. It will show you for any given cluster if it's balanced or not, or any data center. And then you can have it balance automatically everything that's in there. It will constantly track and show you information about your balance status. Beyond this, there's also the new thought was, let's not just think of making it easy to fix the problem, let's avoid the problem. And for those of you who've used it in 6.6, there's the proactive DRS, which actually feeds information back to vCenter saying, okay, here's the patterns, here's the historic data, and vCenter looks at that data and says, oh, there is going to be contention at some point. I am going to have problems in a few hours. Let's move this VM right now before it happens. That's even going, and that's the thought. Until now, we were thinking of how do we help people fix their problems. Now, the next step and the future that we are looking to is how do we avoid the problems? It's just like medicine, right? Prevention is always better than cure, and we want to prevent the problem from happening in the first place, or at least warn the user that it will happen soon. And just to tell you, I mean, those were just a few things I thought. This one slide is for one release. This is we had a boot camp and I was showing, and I had one slide only because I typically like to do demos. And this is the number of things that happened in just one release. And that's not all of it. That's the part I was responsible for and I was following. So as you can see, there's so many things happening at the same time. I don't want to go through them all one by one, but for those of you who are interested, like for example, the Excel notes that came, they ran up to now, we can have 6 of them. We can have 180,000 objects in an environment. We integrated our adapters. Login site is now default in there. VRA is default in there. vSAN is already in the product. You don't even need to install them. You just need to configure them if you want to use them. We switched to VIDM. Well, we didn't switch. We added VIDM support, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see the major changes. The clarity was changed. The alerting workflows have changed. There's alert groupings, different alert mechanisms, et cetera. So my point is that while Rob and his team did a tremendous job and an amazing job, frankly, of using vRops as an engine and creating a UI around it, you don't need to. We've taken already the steps that required, that made us start thinking differently and listening to you. So there's 2 things here. 1, our future work will always be based with this pattern. 2, please do send us feedback in the forums, on Socialcast, with your TAMs. We are looking for information from the customers. It's not a black hole, as people say. Many people, I hear this often, is like, yes, you have Socialcast, or there's the feature request. I send the feature request and there's no response. It's not true. Yes, we may not respond to every single request we get. It would take too much time. But we do sit down and read every single one of them. And I've seen customers, actually I have one who's speaking to me today, they are so happy when they see that their request has been included because what they said came into the pattern of what we wanted to do. So that was it. It was very short. I'm here to answer any questions you may have about future of the product, about what Rob was doing. I'm sure Rob would be willing to take questions too. Please remember that this is being recorded, so you would have to step up to the mic so that we can get the question. Thank you.